Again, I dare you. I double dare you, mother.
Get busy living. You get busy dying.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
You're gonna need a bigger boat. And here we go.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Cult Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Maloof. With me, as always, my co-host, Dante Trowina. And we've got kind of a News of the Week episode for you. We're going to go over some stuff we've seen, some stories we want to talk about, and just some stuff in the industry. How's it going, Dante?
Going good. It seems like summer movie season's starting to kick off. We're getting a lot of news, a lot of stuff going on. It felt like we were in that March period where nothing was happening. We're just waiting for April to hit. And last week's been busy. Some April Fool's Day news coming around too. So just excited about this summer. Ready for some of these good movies we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I want to get into all that because I think it's pretty interesting how much stuff was announced yesterday that was not April Fool's, but like so many
Right.
announcements in movies and came out on April 1st. But I think first up top, we should probably talk about the passing of Val Kilmer. RIP, the legend Val Kilmer. What can you say about him, man? Like he was an
Right.
all-time icon.
Right.
He was amazing, whether it's Heat or even Batman or Top Gun or, name your favorite Val Kilmer movie, The Doors.
Tombstone, man. Yeah.
Tombstone. He was incredible. He was a truly one of a kind actor. I don't think we really have people like him in the industry
No.
nowadays.
So much charisma and such a, like you said, a one of a kind career. Just kind of did it his way, did what he wanted to do. I loved him in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. That was another just kind of weird offshoot movie for him, but he always brought it and you always knew what to expect from a Val Kilmer performance. He's going to give you a character that you're going to remember. Even if you don't remember the character's name, you just remember Val Kilmer, right? Like I think we don't have actors like that you just go for a name and they're like the B or C in the movie. In Heat, we'd all take away Val Kilmer in a movie with De Niro, Pacino, and Michael Mann directing, and Val Kilmer might be the best character in that movie. He's just a one of a kind actor, uh, defined by the last couple years and everything he's been battling through. I think he just handled it with grace and just showed. We get wrapped up a bit because we care about these actors' personal lives a bit and just seeing how they are as people. And Val Kilmer just seems like a first class individual. So rest in peace.
Yeah, he seemed like a really cool guy, a guy that loved making movies and I think really appreciated his standing in Hollywood and how successful he was. He didn't seem like a guy that took anything for granted, very down to earth. I thought it was really interesting. Well, first he died of throat cancer. I don't know the exact cause of death, but I know he had throat cancer for years. I saw the documentary Val I think it came
Great.
out in 2019. And that kind of opened up a whole new side of him that I hadn't really
Yeah.
known about before. And that's how I think I kind of perceive him now and know more about who he was as a person. But the great documentary, if you haven't seen it, if anyone hasn't seen it, definitely check it out. It's worth watching, especially now.
Yes. I think that's exactly what I was going to recommend going into this is that, I'm going to watch Heat tonight, right? Like I'm going to get the itch and I'm going to watch the whole damn thing, all 3 hours. But Val, the documentary Val is absolutely amazing, and just gives you a whole new perspective about the guy. It's so well made, and so much just amazing footage that he captured over the years and gives you just a great appreciation for Val Kilmer. So of all the Val Kilmer movies you can watch, I think Val, the documentary about him is the best one to watch at this time.
Yeah, right now I would definitely recommend that. I'm sure there's a lot of people checking it out right now. I think it's on Amazon Prime. I think it was like a
Yeah.
Prime original documentary, if I remember.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but I've been seeing that referenced a lot online since Val's passing. So I should probably check that out. I know it's a Shane Black movie, RDJ and
Yeah.
Val Kilmer. Seems like it's right up my alley.
Well, and it's just 100% Val Kilmer in that role, right? It's probably the most Shane Black movie, the most Robert Downey Jr. as a role, just being himself, and then Val Kilmer just bringing this unique, funny spin to a side cop character, and just absolutely dominating like the 20-ish minutes he has on screen in that movie.
Yeah, I also think it was poignant that he got that kind of send off in Top Gun Maverick. It seemed like that
Yeah.
was like a send off not only to the character of Iceman, but to the actor and the person Val Kilmer, because he hasn't worked much over the past 10 years or so with his throat cancer diagnosis. He can't talk very well. If you'll see that in the documentary. There was some digital enhancement and stuff used for his voice in Top Gun Maverick, but you can still obviously tell through the performance that he's not what he wasn't what he used to be. So it really did feel like a standoff to Val Kilmer and Iceman in that movie. So I think
Yeah.
a nice moment, and something that I think is even a little bit more poignant now.
He never lost his touch, and he was, despite the voice, he never lost who he was as a person. And through the screen, like, he just still has that charisma with you through the screen. Just someone that I think we both have so much admiration for and how he handled himself. And just a great, unique movie star. Like, truly, not the first name on a box office hit, but just a star in his own way, and this weird path that he formed for himself that was so much fun to watch. And so many good movies that I'm sure we haven't seen, that he just probably completely ate up. So rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace, Val Kilmer. He will be sorely missed. We've
Yes.
lost a few legends already this year. We have Val Kilmer now, Gene Hackman a little while ago, and then David Lynch at the beginning of the year. So
Yeah.
yeah, always sucks. Always sucks to lose these guys, especially when they go too young. I think Gene Hackman he was pretty old, so you can only live so long, I guess. But
Right.
it sucks to lose these guys no matter what.
Well, and the slow decay of Val that we kind of saw,
Yeah.
right? Just, you knew this was going to happen probably sooner rather than later, but it's not something that makes it any easier to swallow. So, um, let's not have any more of these this year, I
Yeah,
hope.
I hope
Let's
so.
keep everybody alive and keep making some great movies and enjoying these actors while we have them.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Val Kilmer. Moving on, you want to talk about the studio?
Yeah, absolutely awesome. I had a great time watching it last night. I think this show just, again, completely knows what it wants to be. It has a fun idea for each episode, and it flies by. Like the 37 minutes, however long it was, it just flew right by. I had such a fun time watching it, and just it's going to be fun week to week seeing what situation Matt, Seth Rogen's character, gets himself into. I think he might be growing a bit into his position now, and I wonder if they'll
Maybe
have
by the
more
end of this
more of an
episode.
arc, right? More of an arc with his character. But honestly, I don't. It's kind of a fun show because you can have character arcs and recurring things and themes that go throughout the show, or you can just set me in this vibe once a week and show me a funny episode to whatever they're doing at the studio. And it's pretty cool that it already made itself work on both ways in that. So just a great episode last night. I had a great time.
Yeah, I like that it's episodic, that it's just week by week. We're kind of in a different situation. There might, like you said, maybe there will, like, an overarching narrative will develop throughout the season, but I'm just having fun just going week to week
Right.
and being put in like
Yeah.
all these different scenarios. Like it even like when the episode started, there's no recap, right? Like every TV show you watch nowadays, there's got to be a recap of everything you've seen before. And this show obviously is not interested in that at all because it doesn't make any sense to have a recap. It's like, just focus on this episode and have fun with it. So I'm having a great time.
And it's treating us so smart as audience members. Not just the no recap, but also just, we know why you're here. You're here for references and silly, parallels to the real universe. And so it makes you, it doesn't test you or make you think super hard, but it also doesn't treat you like you're an idiot just sitting down watching a show at 9 at night. It knows what the audience wants from it, and it's completely delivering that. Ron Howard can act, man.
Yeah. Well,
Good for
he
him.
used to act. I mean,
He's-
American Graffiti,
yeah,
Ron Howard can
right.
act.
That was awesome, though. That was a great little conundrum he was in with his cousin, and the
That
extra
was
40
just
extra
funny.
45 minutes after. I loved watching them in the theater. Just, this movie rips, like having a great time watching it. Oh, that was a great ending. They're about to get up and walk out, and then, oh, okay, a little postscript. Let's see. And then 45
45
minutes
minutes.
later, it's still at the hotel sequence, and even down to Anthony Mackie, coming in, and you think that he's totally on board with it, and he's nodding his
Uh-huh.
head with
Uh-huh.
Ron, and then he comes up, I need you to get the sequence the fuck out of the movie. I hated filming it. I hated it when I read it in the script. Just such a good time to see which real actors are coming up as themselves in the show too.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I loved Anthony Mackie, but I think that whole thing, it's just so funny because that's so true to life, I think, in Hollywood. Is no one wants to be the bad guy. No one wants to get on Ron Howard's bad side, but everyone agrees that they need to tell him that they need to cut the sequence
right.
out of the movie, but nobody wants to do it. Anthony Mackie won't do it because he's the star and he doesn't want to upset Ron. The Catherine O'Hara character, won't do it because she says, I'm out on my own now. Like I gotta suck up to these guys. I can't, tell them that this part of the
Right.
movie fucking sucks and need to cut it. So yeah, I just thought that it was just really funny. Seth Rogen, he's the studio head. He's the one who should just man up and fucking do it. But
And let it rip.
he
Yeah.
wants Ron Howard to like him, so he doesn't want to do it either. And
But he criticized A Beautiful Mind,
yeah,
you know,
gotta
in the
say,
screeners. So
I've never seen A Beautiful Mind, so I just that they let the cat out of the bag for they let the cat out of the bag for me on that one. But I guess that's my
right.
own fault for not seeing that movie up until
Yeah.
now. I gotta
Spoiler
go
alert.
watch it. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Ron
just
Howard is really funny
hilarious,
though.
right? Hilarious predicament. I just want Ron Howard to like me, man. He's one of the nicest guys. And Ron Howard nodding his head, like, yeah. Oh, you got a note, Matt? Like just getting up close. Oh, and then they just can't say it the whole time, whoever's saying it.
Yeah.
And then he finally lets it rip after Ron's ripping into him. And Ron Howard, I love. I saw today another clip of it where Ron Howard throws his hat at
Uh-huh.
Matt, and he just falls back like he got fucking like a dagger thrown at him or like a brick. Like he just completely falls back like he got hit by the hardest object on earth. And then I think like we said, there is some room for some growth in his character at the end of the episode. You know, he does man up to a point with Ron Howard
He
and
just finally
tell
gets
him
fed up and has to
yeah,
tell
he
him.
finally gets pissed off enough. Ron Howard pushes him there.
Uh-huh.
And then I love the final call between him and Ron where,
Yeah.
you were right. I have to get over my personal stuff. Um, but if you ever cross me again, I will fucking kill you. Like it was like, okay, so that was just a fun episode. Fun to see Ron Howard canonically in this universe now. And Anthony Mackie, all he wants to do is make hits, man.
Yeah, I think you could just really tell that everyone, especially all the people that are playing themselves, like all the cameos, they're just having a great time in this show. Like
Yeah.
Ron Howard's just like loving being able to like be the mean guy, Anthony Mackie seems like he's having fun. Martin Scorsese in the first
Yeah,
episode,
back to Paul
Sarah
Dano
Polley,
from the start.
Paul
Yeah.
Dano, like all the cameos and all the people playing themselves, they feel
Greta
like
Lee.
they're really like having Greta Lee, like they're just having a great time being in the show and kind of playing with their personas. I also really like I'm still just like my favorite part of this show is the way it looks. It's like shot in
Yeah.
that style of the player where it's these long takes and we're not cutting. Like we're gonna have a 4-minute dialogue sequence. It's gonna be our four main characters walking down a sidewalk or something, and we're just tracking with them the entire time, and we're not cutting. And I just love it. In that Ron Howard scene, the climactic scene where he's yelling at Seth Rogen in the meeting, there's no cuts, right? It
Around the
just
table
yeah, it's
too.
just the
Yeah.
camera's just moving, following the action, and it's just so cool to see stuff shot like this because nowadays everyone wants to cut every 5 seconds, and sometimes that works, but sometimes it's just completely unnecessary. And this does it in a way without like drawing so much attention to itself, except I think in the second episode where that's the whole premise of the episode is
Yeah.
the oneer. But this, we have some cuts here, but again, it's cuts when we absolutely need them. But otherwise, we're just gonna let the scene play out, and we're just gonna shoot it in one take. And I think it looks amazing, and I'm really really liking it.
It has a really cool style to it, and I think that's what makes the episodes fly by. That's what makes the dialogue so much fun is that, well, it is witty dialogue, and witty dialogue is half the battle, or a lot of the battle in that case. But having the camera work and clean editing, or just one clean shot in that moment, or an active camera, makes it just feel all the more present. So it's really cool. Like weirdly, kind of opposite to like Succession, where Succession has a lot of cuts and a lot of, handheld and zoom in camera, where this one lets it breathe, but they have a similar dialogue and structure style, which I really like. And it's just, again, surprising to me how fast these episodes go with how much they can cram into it without it feeling crammed at all, because they do let the scenes take the appropriate time. So just good to watch good TV, man.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about that too is I think the way that this series is shot really brings out some great performances, and it forces the actors to like really be on their game because you can't fuck up a line or we got to go reset the whole shot. Like the whole kind of premise of the second
Yeah.
episode, right? And yeah, you can't mess up. Like, and if you do, we have to go reset. So it's just really cool to kind of watch, especially like these actors. The girl, I can't remember her character's name or even the actor's name off the top of my head, but she's like Seth Rogen's assistant.
Right.
And I've never really seen her in anything before. And
No, me
she's
neither.
really like holding her own with all these other guys, with Seth Rogen, with Catherine Hahn, with all these actors who are like well seasoned and are probably a
Yeah,
lot better than her at this, I can imagine, or at least have more experience.
right.
And she does not feel out of place at all. She's like totally right in there with them. So yeah,
Yeah,
it just loving it, man.
she loves Anthony Mackie too.
I
That
love
was
that
a fun
scene.
little
She's like,
little
okay,
character quirk.
I'll do it. And then Anthony Mackie's there with Ron Howard. She can't give him a note, and
She
she's
just
just like
can't. Yeah,
obsessed with Anthony Mackie.
yeah. That was just great. Just a good episode. And like you said, I think it does force the actors. You have to buy in completely in that case too, right? Just from the start and reading the script and knowing how the show is going to be shot. So I completely agree that it's bringing out the best in them because you have to be fully committed to delivering this role, not just through the character, but through your takes and your actions and everything you're doing. I think they're comfortably overacting a lot of them too, in a really fun way where they're
Yeah.
emoting a lot and showing and talking with their bodies a lot and reacting to everything going on screen. I loved Mackie in the background of this episode too, like nodding his head about Ron Howard. And,
Uh-huh.
just great. Like, just you can tell they're all having so much fun. And I love when actors do this. I love when actors act as themselves too.
It's
I
always
think
fun.
it's such a fun wrinkle. I don't feel like it's ever failed as much as I've seen it. But
Not that
like
I can
Anthony
think of.
Mackie signing up to do that is just so cool of Anthony Mackie to me. Like that just earns him little points in the back of my mind. Like, yeah, he was awesome in the studio. Like, cool.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you know him.
And I think it shows too that a lot of everyone that's in this show, they obviously have a pretty high opinion of this, right? Or they wouldn't play themselves in a
Yeah.
series like this. Like they read the script, and I think everyone is on board. I think everyone kind of recognizes the quality that we're working with here. But this is probably I don't know if it's the best thing I've ever seen from Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, but it's got to be up there. It's the first time I've seen them do anything on TV. But we know them from like Superbad, and This Is the End and that sort of stuff. So
No.
this is like not totally divorced from that. There's like little hints of that, but it's meant to be taken maybe a little bit more seriously, or it's just it's a different tone for them that I don't think I've seen before
Yeah.
from these two guys. So I'm really enjoying seeing this.
It shows how much they love movies. And yeah, it's a completely new direction for them. Just such cool careers that they have. Just so unique. And I want to see more stuff like this from them going forward. I'm sure there will be more seasons of the studio. There's just got to be, just from watching the first 3 episodes. But I'd love to see them just push their boundaries more because I think they get underrated through their comedy sometimes, and we forget like Superbad is a hilarious movie, but it's also a damn good movie and well directed and well written, and it hammers all of its moments that it has to. And this show's like that too, where it's hitting on every cylinder that it needs to, and good for them, man. They have a hit on their hands.
Yeah, probably my favorite thing on TV right now. So looking forward to
No.
every episode we get after this. I don't know how long the season's going to be. I should probably check that out. But
Afterwards, we got to rank all the fictional movies in this show.
okay,
Which
okay.
one we think we want to see out of this. I think
Uh-huh.
Ron Howard's is kind of in the middle for me right now. I don't know how
Well, if he cuts the motel
I
sequence,
know.
then it's great.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he can get over his personal stuff.
Speaking of
Streaming
filmmakers, I
services.
guess streaming services and
Yeah.
filmmakers, we have big news. This is not an April Fool's joke, although many thought it was, including me. It was announced yesterday on April 1st. Terrible time to announce, especially this particular thing,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
David Fincher will be directing a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, starring Brad Pitt, written by Quentin Tarantino for Netflix. This doesn't sound real to me. What the fuck is
It's
going on?
it's like a high class hodgepodge. Like what what is this? And I love the tweet I saw yesterday about how somebody was scrolling past all the film accounts and they're like, I've seen this April Fool's joke like 4 or 5 times now. And they realize like it's actually discussing film and these cinema accounts like, oh, this might be real. And that's exactly how I reacted to it too. I was like, yeah, whatever. I close my app. I go back to my app later and it's still like one of the first things I see on my feed. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then a lot of people were tweeting like, this is not an April Fool's joke. This is a very real project. A lot of talent, kind of confused on how to feel, but it's all guys that we like.
It's David Fincher, Brad Pitt, written by Quentin Tarantino, but it's for Netflix. That's the only part where it kind of takes a little bit of a hit for me. But
And
I
just
don't.
being the sequel to that movie is just kind of weird because I feel like it has such a beautiful ending.
Well, I agree. It has a great ending. I don't think this is going to feature Rick Dalton at all. I
No,
think this is going to be a Cliff Booth movie. I think Tarantino has said multiple times how he loves this character of Cliff Booth, and he's like written a lot of. I think he's fleshed out even more in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood novelization that
no.
Tarantino released a couple years ago, and I've heard him in interviews say that he had a lot more stuff for Cliff Booth than what ended up making it into the movie or even made into the book. So I'm not terribly like I guess I'm not completely shocked that Tarantino wrote a script for a sequel starring Cliff Booth. I am shocked, one, that it's for Netflix, and two, that Fincher's directing it. I mean, I guess it makes sense because
Right.
Fincher and Brad Pitt. I think Brad Pitt is the one who got Fincher on board here,
Well, they're neighbors. Like they're literally neighbors.
and they're like best friends forever,
Right.
right?
They
They've been
they
besties since
watch
Fight
movies all the
Club.
time and produce things together. So makes sense on that lineage. And then at first I thought it was like Fincher and Pitt in it together. And I was like, okay. And then Tarantino writing it, like, okay, I'm buying in more and more,
And
but I am
apparently the
just
script is
so
done too.
right. I'm just so confused by it. Like this I will not believe it's real until I'm sitting in the theater
Yeah.
watching it, and I still think I won't believe it's real
Well,
as I'm watching it.
I hope we get
But
to sit in
I'm
a theater and watch it because this is going. If this
right.
gets dumped on Netflix with a 10-day tiny little limited theatrical release, like I don't think Tarantino was gonna buy that. Like I don't think Tarantino was gonna get on board with that. So Netflix must be promising that this is gonna get a real theatrical release before it goes to Netflix. So
I will
Jesus,
watch it in the theater. If
I'll do
it's there
everything I can.
for
Yeah.
one night, I will fly down to Seattle and watch it in the theater. Like, eh, you know, like Fincher is my number one on
Yeah.
my list. Like he is truly my favorite director. So just a weird couple years with him at Netflix, and I guess he really likes Netflix as much as he started House of Cards with them and directed the first couple episodes and produced the first two seasons really of House of Cards, and then left and immediately the show quality went down. Mindhunter he did for Netflix, which is one of my favorite shows to ever exist, and just I'm rewatching it right now, and it's just proven itself even more with time for me. Mank, I
Hmm.
like Mank. It's a project that his father wrote, and I get the meaning of it for him, but it's very much a departure of what you would think a Fincher movie to be. And then The Killer, which is a head-on Fincher movie, but for Netflix, and just kind of felt like it was swept under the rug. I don't think it should have been up for awards or anything, but it did feel like it just didn't get what it deserved on Netflix.
Well, I
So
think that's what happens with a lot of these Netflix movies, right? Is they come out and there's like some buzz about it for the first day or two, and then it just kind of gets lost into the void of Netflix where things just kind of seem to vanish. Obviously, they stay there, but it just feels like things get released on Netflix and they kind of just fade away and people don't talk about them. And I think this has been proven time and time again. If you listen to people in the industry talk about this stuff, like movies released in theaters, they stick around in the consciousness longer. They
right,
get more press, they get more word of mouth, and I think people also associate that with like a higher quality of movie,
yeah,
because we
yeah.
get a lot of stuff that just gets is terrible and just gets dumped onto streaming, kind of like this is the new version of like direct to DVD, basically, right? If it's just direct to streaming
The
and no one really
common
talks about it.
moviegoer, the common moviegoer is not going to go on Netflix and think of a huge quality jump in a Fincher movie. Like they're not gonna just understand that. I don't know. I'm not trying to
They're
say
just gonna see it as another Netflix movie.
right, and that just degrades Fincher's work a bit because he is such a meticulous, like he to me he's like as perfect as a director is. He's all about perfection and bringing out the most of a script. And I think I'm really interested to see him direct a Tarantino script. Like that's so cool to me.
I know. Well,
He's done
I
Sorkin.
know.
He's Gone Girl. I've watched the director's commentary of Gone Girl, and I love Fincher talking about when he read the book and then he starts scouting for locations based on the book, and he calls up Gillian Flynn, the author of Gone Girl, and he calls her and says, "Hey, I was looking at this town. It's called like North Carthage in Missouri. I was thinking this could be our set for the St. Louis town uh, in the book." And she calls back and she says, "Oh, that's actually the town I was thinking of. Like when I wrote the book, the fictional town in the book, I was thinking of that town." And he says, "Well, it doesn't have to be a fucking secret. It's your book." Like I want to bring the most out of. I think he's someone that always wants to bring the most out of the script that he's
Right.
doing, and he does. You know, Fight Club is such a great representation of the source material, Chuck Palahniuk's book, and Gone Girl is a like I love the Gone Girl book. The movie's better. It's one of those movies that just brings it up to a different level. And I think Social Network he portrays Sorkin's script so well. So I'm really curious to see what a Tarantino script looks like in the hands of Fincher.
Well, we haven't seen a Tarantino script directed by someone else in a long time. I mean, since the True Romance, Natural Born Killers. Yeah, that was before anyone really even knew who Tarantino was when those
Yeah.
movies were being made. Right around that time, anyways. I guess Natural Born Killers came out a couple years later. Tarantino was going to direct it. We don't have to get into that, but we haven't seen that in a long, long time. So that'd be really interesting to see just like what it looks like. What is this movie going to physically look like? What's the aesthetic going to be? Because Tarantino scripts, they feel like they're written to be made by Tarantino, which they are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is just really, really interesting to me. Um, I don't know.
Well,
I
and
just don't know what to think.
what to me too is that like you said, they're scripts that are just one of a kind and can be brought out by that director. I think you hit on something in the theaters too. Like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has gotten better with the years too. I think
Absolutely.
it's a movie that you just go back to because it has such a good timeless quality to it. Um, Tarantino, like you said, loves Cliff Booth as a character. Us too. We love
Yeah.
Cliff Booth, and love Brad Pitt's performance in that movie. It's
Hmm.
just A1 performance. And Fincher directs the 70s really well. You know, that's all of what Mindhunter is bringing out that vibe. And that's what a lot of Zodiac is late
Zodiac.
60s,
Hmm.
early 70s, right? So he brings the feel of whatever era he's going to bring in a movie. You know, Mank, the time that it was at in the early 40s, late 30s per se,
Yeah.
you know, that movie is brilliant at showcasing the time period. So I don't know if this is a prequel or a sequel or if it's been really confirmed. You know, it says a sequel,
But we
but I
we
don't
don't
know if it's
know.
right. We don't know if it's beforehand or actually after the events of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But I think Fincher's really going to bring that element to it, is that he's going to, whatever time period it's in, he's going to go all out just the way Tarantino did with Once Upon a Time. And I really hope that brings out that timeless quality. And I'm going to see it in the theater if it's there, because again, that's how it's going to resonate more with me, because The Killer will always be, I've read the book, the comic is amazing. I love The Killer movie, but it just doesn't have the same feeling to me because it was a streaming movie and it just doesn't have that staying power in my mind. And that might not be the only reason why. Like I just don't like it as much as other Fincher movies, but it doesn't have that staying power, and it might be because of the theater. So I want to see this one in the theater. I want it to be something that I can put on, you know, a couple years later in my house and just, you know, watch it throughout the day and love it like I do with Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, I also want to touch on the whole 10 movies thing with Tarantino because this feels like Tarantino saying, I have my rule where I'm only going to make 10 movies, even though he's already fucking made 10 movies already. But the whole thing is just so silly. Kill Bill 1 and 2 is one
Dumb.
movie to him. It just doesn't make any sense. And this just feels like he's just limiting himself. He's being like, I have this dope ass script for a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel, but I don't want this to be my last movie, so I
Right.
can't direct it. It's like, just fucking direct it and then make another movie and another one. Like, no one is making you only make 10 movies, bro. What the fuck are you doing?
If we could do a list, if we could time travel and change things about movies or change things about directors, that'd be one
That'd
of
be
our
my
top
number
things.
one. I think
Is
that'd be my number one.
we'd go to Tarantino as like a child, and while when he's getting into movies, whenever he's at his like artist point where he really
Right.
knows that he wants to make movies, and just say, you know, all the great directors just don't stop ever.
Yeah,
They just
they
keep making
keep
movies,
going.
and they don't stop. They don't have any of these stupid numbers or unwritten rules about what they do. They just keep making movies and just get them to buy in on that idea, because like,
I
just
mean,
stop it.
look at
So dumb.
Scorsese.
Stop it.
Look at it can be done. I know his
Right.
thing is the great directors they overstay their welcome, they keep working too long and
Right.
then they start ruining their legacies with bad movies, but that's not always true. Sometimes sure, but like not all the time. And if you can save yourself from that by just not making any fucking bad movies. You haven't made one yet. You've made 10
Right.
already, and they've all been good. Very,
Right.
good to fucking amazing. Like
Yeah.
the floor is still a good movie. Death Proof to me is
Right.
probably
Right.
my least favorite, and that's still a good movie. And
Yeah.
then of course the ceiling is like some of the best movies we've ever seen in the
Most
history of this
influential
medium.
too. And
Exactly.
most, again, like most rewatchable, most timeless movies that just speak to people. Pulp Fiction is still on like damn near everybody's wall, it feels
Of
like.
course.
Like that's gotta be one of the best or most bought movie posters of all time.
I
And
have one.
rightfully so, like
I mean, that's my
you gotta,
yeah,
right?
it's the best. It's the
Um
best. So I don't know. Any more thoughts on this?
no, just like so weirded out by it, but really enthusiastic. Like I'm glad Fincher's still working. I'm glad the script's done. I want to see a Tarantino script, and Fincher and Brad Pitt, like we need to see it a couple more times
Yeah.
because, especially I'm not trying to lace it with this kind of stuff, but we got to appreciate all these people, while they can still make movies together. I think it's so cool. I don't think Fincher or Pitt are old or anything like that. It's just so cool to still see them both at the top of their game again because they're not beholden to some rule. They're still at the top of their game. It's not like Spielberg making Ready Player One. Nobody's
Right.
tarnishing their legacy here. So
Well, Spielberg has
let's.
recovered since then,
He made
we
Fablemans right after
exactly.
too, right? So it happens.
And people like Ready Player One. Some people like that movie. I don't
Some
love it,
people,
but some people
um,
like it.
but I just think like I just want to. I want this movie to be so good, and I want to love it in the theater and appreciate some of my favorite directors, actors, and writer, I guess now too with Tarantino again. Um, Weirdly excited for this one.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say about this is I hope it actually comes out because
Yeah,
the last Tarantino thing that got
sounds like it
announced
won't. Yeah,
seemed like it was really going to happen, and we were getting some casting rumors, and it seemed like it was time to go, and then Tarantino pulled the plug on it. So I hope this isn't just like an announcement that kind of gets some buzz for a while and then ultimately doesn't go anywhere. I do want to see this movie. I really do want to see this. Like you can't don't show it to me if I can't have it. Kevin Garnett, why
well,
would you show
right.
it to me if I can't have it?
Well, and Fincher's had some stuff over the years that haven't come into fruition, and then Netflix pulls the plug on a lot of stuff, and even Fincher things like Mindhunter, which is crazy to me because he made their most successful and first show for them, and why would you want to support that director who's exclusively signed to you? But whatever,
I don't think
he likes
Netflix
it.
would pull the plug on this just because the the buzz is so great around this movie. It's written by Tarantino,
It's
directed Fincher, starring Brad Pitt. It's a sequel to fucking Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There's no way Netflix is going to pull the
yeah, it's
plug on
some
this, at
it's
least
some
if they have
insane
any sense.
buzz. Yeah,
Yeah, that's all I've got for you there. So hope we see that movie eventually. I'll probably be a couple years at least. I hope, or I don't. I hope we get it like as soon as possible. But I think it will be a few years until we see that.
what if they come out like next summer?
That'd be
Just
amazing.
that's I wouldn't be shocked honestly if they announced it and like you said, so they said like it's the script is done, everything's in place as far as they obviously haven't figured out if they announce it the way they did. So sooner than later, I hope.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's keep pumping out some Fincher movies.
Let's shift gears here a little bit and talk about the Spider-Man announcements. We had two Spider-Man
Yeah,
movies announced yesterday too, which stop doing this. Stop announcing all this stuff on April Fool's Day because like I can't fully like commit to believing in some of this stuff until like the day after. But we had both Spider-Man movies announced. We had Spider-Man Brand New Day, the newest MCU Spider-Man movie, Tom Holland, coming out. What did it say? June 2026? Was it June or
yeah, June
July?
of June of next year. Yeah,
June 2026. And then on top of that, we also had the announcement for Beyond the Spider-Verse, the third installment in the Spider-Verse trilogy, being announced for June 2027.
yeah.
So a year out, we'll get one Spider-Man movie next year, and then another one the year after that. Thoughts on this, Dante? What do you think?
I with Spider Verse, it was supposed to come out last spring. So
Yeah, I
that's
think
crazy to
originally.
me. That's crazy, and it seems like they're just really going through like some renders right now. Like they have the four screenshots, but I think that's about it. Like I don't know how many. They didn't say much about how many scenes they have, but just crazy to think how they're working on it. But again, like thank God it's coming out and it's really confirmed now because it did feel for a while like it was just Sony was embarrassed and Christopher Lord and Miller were just kind of, footing around this thing and not knowing what to announce about it. And I'm ready to see the conclusion to this because I think we both agree, like, Into and Across the Spider-Verse are two of the best, not just animated movies, like probably two of my top 100 favorite movies of all time
They're both
on
amazing.
that list for me. They're both fantastic. Um, so I'm excited to see. I'm glad they're taking their time because they do need to take their time, and I want it to look as great as it can. They said they're formatting it for IMAX too.
Okay.
So awesome,
Okay.
So um, kind of bummed out that it's 2 years from now, but ultimately just happy that this movie's coming together and that it's real now.
Right. If it comes out and it's good, then it'll all be worth it. We know that
Right.
these movies take a long time to make. I think the announcement originally of one in 2023 and the next one in 2024, like on the same date, almost
Psychotic.
was like extremely bold. And I think from the moment Across the Spider-Verse came out, we knew that we were not getting Beyond the Spider-Verse the next year. So that was obviously very disappointing. But if it comes out and it's good, then it's all for the best, I guess. They took their time. Phil Lord and Chris Miller are like amazing. I think everything they touch turns to gold. They're like
Yeah.
two of the best guys in Hollywood. Everything I've seen from them, I've loved. So
Right.
I hope that this gets all the time it needs. I hope that it looks amazing as all the other ones did, and I hope we get a really cool conclusion to the story that we were like left off on a huge cliffhanger in Across the Spider Verse
Yeah.
too. So
You've
yeah,
got 2/3 of one of the best trilogies of all time already.
exactly.
Like seriously, it really is. I Whoever's watching this has probably watched Spider-Verse, right? But
Yes,
I just think if anybody ever sees this and has not seen it, go watch it right now because it deserves so much respect. And I think it's so cool because it was a box office hit too, especially the second one. And so just cool, unique, one of a kind movies that again need to be seen on the big screen and deserve their respect for not I can't stand when people uh don't watch a movie because it's animated or it's a
like
cartoon or
you're
that's
just
for
silly if you
kids.
do that.
You're taking yourself too seriously. It's a fucking movie.
It's a great movie
Strap
too.
up. Strap
Yeah,
up and watch it. Um and then Brand New Day.
yeah,
Better font choice.
sure.
That's my reaction there. I like the font. Are
I
they
don't know
going
if
to do
I love the
day in all the
title.
titles now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's I don't know if I love the title. Is it going to be the Day trilogy? I thought they kind of put themselves in a weird box with the Home trilogy. Like
Yeah.
every movie has to have a home in the title. I thought that was kind of weird. So I don't know. Maybe it's we're getting the new Day trilogy. I hope they don't like put themselves in that box again. I would rather them be able to be more creative with the titles.
No,
But
just make good stories. Like don't try and
exactly.
fit it to like I feel like Far From Home was such a it has to be a field trip movie because we need a title that can tie back to Homecoming. Like why'd that movie have to be a field trip at all? And I think we haven't gotten enough New York Spidey for my favorite moments about Spider-Man Homecoming are that New York Spidey stuff and the little
Yeah.
montage of him going about his day. Like that is so Spider-Man. And so I want Spider-Man to be the epicenter of New York in Marvel going forward. And I want them to respect the character and give him street level and maybe keep him out of Doomsday and Secret Wars from what it seems. So
I don't think he will be left out of those movies. I don't think he will. But I hope that this brand new day is a new start for Spider-Man, right? That he gets to be like the street level New York hero that we really enjoy seeing. And I think we have really missed in the MCU. So we kind of leave him off in the end of No Way Home, right? We leave him
right.
as becoming like that version of the character
Spider-Man.
basically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't just throw him right back into like another multiverse thing and he actually gets some time to do like things we really like about him. So yeah, I mean we love Tom Holland obviously. I think he's great as Spider-Man.
Yeah, me too.
um
Me too.
Gonna be interesting to see what the supporting cast is in this one because we no one knows who he
We
is at
got
this
Sadie
point,
Sink, right?
right? We have
That's
Sadie
about
Sink
it.
announced. There's been a lot of speculation as to who she's going to be.
Yeah.
Is it Mary Jane Watson, which I don't think would make any sense because
Right.
we already have a alternate version of MJ and Michelle Jones as
Michelle Jones Watson.
the Zendaya character. So I don't think she's going to be Mary Jane. I think I've also heard Jean Grey as a potential casting for her. So maybe
Don't do it.
I don't know how she fits into a Spider-Man movie, but I don't know. I really don't know what to think of that, but I'm excited for
Just
this.
push the character forward. The title, okay, it's paying homage to one of the comics that is the Brand New Day comic, which is coming out of the One More Day, which is kind of what No Way Home was based off of. And the Brand New Day was a really good comic run. I really doubt that's what the if they capture that feel, that's what's going to be really good about the movie. But I doubt that's what the movie's going to be about. Um, Push the character forward, let him be street level. Put Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in the Doomsday movie. Give them their carrot for doing No Way Home. I think they absolutely deserve it, and we'd love to see them back. And let Tom Holland be street level. Like let him be fully Spider-Man, and let him be the king of street level too. I think it's a really cool character when how much the other characters admire him on a street level because he is so powerful and he's done all these things and been to different universes, and so it makes the street level people admire him and what he does, but still the conflict is all the same with Spider-Man. So that's when we get the best of the character. Just let it be. Let Tom Holland do his thing because I think he is a good Spider-Man, and I want to see this. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know me. I love Spider-Man. He's my favorite character, my favorite
Yeah.
superhero. So obviously I'll be watching anything with Spider-Man in the title. I just hope
Right.
they don't go way too over the top and try to do another huge multiverse thing tie-in with Secret Wars and Doomsday. I think and I think a lot of people out there would really like to see a true grounded street level like real Spider-Man movie for Tom Holland, which I think is something we haven't really gotten.
I think Tom Holland does too. He said it himself. Like he wants this new direction. He wants to build off of the ending of No Way Home, which I think is a really good ending and puts his character in an interesting place. Like you can say what you want about that movie. That movie had stakes. It really did with all the hoopla going on in that movie in different universes. That movie followed through on its stakes and made him an unknown. So it didn't have that ending where Michelle Jones knows him in the diner shop
Right.
or like something all goes right. So build off of those stakes and make that decision count. Make it really count and push the character forward through here. Um, However that script ends with a newfound hope, however it ends, I love the ending of that
Yeah.
script with him swinging and how he knows he's not Peter Parker, but Spider-Man lives on, and that's
Mhm.
great. That's great writing. Going on to another superhero thing, we have test screenings, test screening results, I guess, for Superman coming out again, like right before April Fool's Day. So who knows? I just want to talk about we never get any clarity on these fucking test screenings, man. It's one end is saying that it's the best movie that DC's ever made and that people really liked it, and the other end is saying that it's trash and James Gunn doesn't care about the character. And then of course there's people in the middle too. So it's just common test screening fodder. Um, I hate leakers and I hate things like this because what do we gain from any of this? We're all gonna make up our mind in July. Um, but I think this does go to prove this movie might be really divisive. I am prepared for a divisive movie. It's Superman. How can it not be? I think it already just sets itself up to be a very debated movie. And I think a lot of people have different expectations for the character. And that was very clear from the early reactions, which were just all over the place. I just think it's always funny when these things come out and give us absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really heard much about this. I think you're the one that's kind of been listening or like kind of looking for some of these reactions from the Superman test screenings. So I try to avoid stuff like this in general. Stuff always kind of leaks out and you hear bits and pieces. Like if you're just on the internet and you follow the stuff that we follow, you kind of end up running into it
Yeah.
eventually. Um, but yeah, I don't think there's really much to like talk about here as far as like, is this movie in danger or anything like that? Because,
No, no.
like you said, the test screenings, they can mean anything. And also, who's to say that these people actually have seen the movie, the people that are even talking? A
Right,
lot of times
right.
it's just people talking out of their asses and just
Yeah.
trying to get clicks or whatever. So I'm still really excited for this movie, and I'm pretty hopeful. Everything I've seen has indicated to me that it's going to be at least good, if not exceptionally good. So yeah, I would have liked to go to one of those test screenings. That would have been fucking cool.
Yeah, I'd
Um,
like to have my opinion.
yeah, but yeah, I don't have much for you on the Superman test screenings. I think I'm just really excited to see the movie.
No, me too. This didn't dampen, like seeing the bad reactions didn't dampen my spirits, and seeing the great reactions didn't get me hyped and increased for it because we gained nothing from this. Remember when Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz were banging on set of the Batman apparently? And then like all these, all these set leaks that come out over the years, and Damian Wayne was going to be in the Batman because somebody
Uh,
saw it in a test screening, like we know absolutely nothing at this point. I've seen a bunch of like character speculation and who plays who, and there's surprise cameos in Superman. Um, and then I've seen Nathan Fillion brought a ton of great stuff and humor to the screen, and I've seen Nathan Fillion was horrible in the role and should never be cast again. And I just think it's so funny every time you see stuff like this because sometimes you see the headline and you can't help but click, and then the more reading you do, the more you're just like, what the hell? Like, what is this? What is this reaction? So I do think the only thing I can gain from this is maybe that it will be a divisive movie. I think just by being the nature of Superman, it sets itself up to be so. But I want to enjoy the hell out of this movie. I think we've talked about it on and off the podcast. I want to just enjoy the hell out of Superman, and I want him to have a great movie. So test screenings, whatever people say, I'm going to be there first night and hoping for a damn good movie.
yeah. Really, last thing I've got for you here before we wrap it up is I just want to quickly talk about the last movie I've seen. I saw this movie today, actually. It's called Opus. Premiered at Sundance in January, directed by first-time feature filmmaker Mark Anthony Green. This is starring Io Adebari and John Malkovich, among others. And this is essentially the story of Io Adebari's character. She is like an up and coming journalist at this entertainment magazine, and she gets invited along with her editor to the kind of huge ranch like compound of this ultra famous pop star. This guy who is like, he's not quite like a Michael Jackson because he's supposed to be very like reclusive. So I'm not sure what the comp is here, but he's a pop star who is like ultra famous in the 90s, and he kind of hasn't released a record for like 20 years or something, and then it comes out announcing that he's releasing a new album. He invites a select group of people to come out and like join in on the listening party that he's having for this album, and it kind of morphs into this kind of suspense horror movie as things are revealed, and he lives on this huge compound with like all of these people, and it's like a cult kind of vibe.
Oh,
And it's very strange. It's very derivative, I think, of a lot of movies we've seen before. I've seen a lot of comps to things like Get Out, Midsummer, Don't Worry
right,
Darling, like that
right.
sort of kind of psychological thriller slash horror vibe. I'm not really
Cool.
sure what's going on here.
Yeah, I
um
like those premises.
yeah, I think this is like the bad version of that, though, almost
Oh,
like
never mind.
it's not terrible.
Okay.
It's not terrible, but
Right.
it just doesn't really give you a lot to chew on here. Like everything is very
You need it in
surface
these
level
movies. You
and
need it.
presented like up front to you, and it just feels like it doesn't really try to go any deeper than like what is on the screen, or what is being said by the characters, what was written on the page. I think maybe it tries once or twice, but it just doesn't really get there for me. So um yeah, I mean, it's not horrible. I wasn't completely offended by it. I like Io Debris. She's great in pretty much everything I've seen her in. John Malkovich, of course. Um,
Yeah.
and like a cool premise for a movie that ultimately doesn't live up to the premise. So if you can see this for free, like when it comes on streaming, it's still on PVOD right now, so you have to rent it. I don't know if I could really recommend renting this, um, or going to the movies to
Just
see it.
rewatch Midsummer or something
Yeah.
else in that
Yeah.
case,
I
right?
mean, if you want to support a first time filmmaker, this is an A24 film. If you want to go support first
Yeah.
time feature filmmaker, who was lucky enough to get this movie shown in Sundance, and it had some buzz around it, but I don't think a lot of the buzz has been overwhelmingly positive. So yeah, just
Yeah.
wanted to throw that out there. It's a movie that I've been thinking about a movie that's been on my radar since Sundance. I didn't go see it in the theater because I had heard the word of mouth wasn't great, and I usually am the person that is like going to seek things out in the movie theater anyways, but I just didn't really get around to seeing this one. So watched it today at home. Had an okay time with it.
Yeah,
Um,
you need something to chew on in these kind of movies. Like you need a twist in the area too. You need to settle in and come to your own conclusion about how you feel about certain people in this crazy cult area or this get out type vibe. You need to come to those conclusions and it needs to drip feed you that something's off. And then that's when the third act of these movies make or break them a lot of the time. But it's
indeed,
because of okay, in this case probably too.
indeed, yeah,
Um but it's because of the first two acts setup as well. Why the third act can make or break is because it needs to be set up and it needs to pay off in that third act. And it's a really hard thing to land because you have to meticulously set up the third act. So it's a really cool structure for movies. And when it pays off, it leads to stuff like Get Out, which is another just timeless classic already to me. Like can show that to anybody who loves movies, who doesn't like movies, who just wants to watch something entertaining, and they will get something from that movie. So cool to hear that they're making more movies with this premise. And I think independent filmmaking and a small time filmmaker, good for them. That is a swing to take on your first movie too. And I think an inspired story, even though it might be paying homage to some movies that we know or ripping off of some of them in some parts. That's a really cool swing to take for your first movie. So
definitely.
good for them.
Definitely. Did not like offended by this. No ill will towards Mark Anthony Green or anyone
Yeah,
involved in his production. Like, wish them all the best. Glad they got to make this. I think you can only go up from here as far as
yeah,
as a first time writer director. It's like a decent first try. But I'd be
yeah.
really interested to see what he does next because if I can kind of see where his head is at with this one, you can kind of see the things that he's interested in. So it would be really fun to watch his next movie and the next couple movies after that. So
Yeah.
yeah, you should maybe see this one and check it out if you get a chance. I think you might find some stuff, you might
Right.
find it
Right. It's
interesting.
up my alley. It is just from the pitch. So I definitely will.
Hmm.
One thing before we go, I just want to get it on record. I am ecstatic about the directing choice of Zach Kreger for the Resident Evil movie this next year. I was able to watch Barbarian. I love the Resident Evil games. They are on my Mount Rushmore. Resident Evil 4 is one of the best pieces of media I've ever had the chance to enjoy. And I watched Barbarian, I think this last October actually, just as a Halloween thrill. I knew I would probably like it. Just I didn't know much going into the movie. And about halfway through the movie, I was like, this dude would direct a great Resident Evil movie, having no clue that he was chosen already to direct the Resident Evil movie. Like it felt like one of those things where, because I Googled it afterwards and realized he was chosen to direct it. I was like, oh my gosh. And just put all the things in place for me. He's putting out a little bit of quotes about his Resident Evil movie right before April Fool's again. Just about the structure of the movie. It'll follow one character. It'll be an A to B type point, maybe escort type movie. But he is an amazing choice for this, and I pray this movie's good because they deserve a good movie for this franchise, and I want to see it. It opens up so many doors as a franchise because it's fucking hilarious, horrifying, unique, adventurous. Like it's just everything that you'd want out of a video game, and I want to see that translate to a great movie because it can go in so many different directions. I hope this is like what Prey was for Predator, right? I hope this is what the Zach Kreger Resident Evil movie is because it can open up a door to I think a really great franchise that we deserve to enjoy on screen and deserves to be given a good movie. So, just want to get on record. I am really excited about this choice. I think he is going to nail it, and so optimistic about this movie after some really crappy Resident Evil movies and shows through the years. I think this one is gonna maybe land it. I hope so.
Yeah, I think this is about the only way you can get me interested in a
Yeah.
Resident Evil movie is telling me that Zach Kreger is going to do it because I don't know anything about Resident Evil. I've never played any of the games, never seen any of the movies because I've heard all the movies are
They're
terrible. So I've just
horrible,
stayed away from
horrible.
them.
Yeah.
But if Zach Kreger's involved, this will be my first Resident Evil movie. I will watch this. So really excited. I don't have much else to say other than that, but I'll watch anything I'll watch anything he
Right.
makes for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna be excited no matter what he did next. And seeing this, I would show up to what he did next. I'm gonna be there for what he's doing next now because it's taking a director who I think is talented and told a really cool, unique story in Barbarian, uh, and just combining it with one of my favorite franchises ever. So insanely excited.
All right. Well, a lot of great stuff to talk about today. Thought we had a pretty good week as far as shows and shows we've seen, movies being announced. We got some really cool stuff coming out. So, yeah, I think the future's looking pretty bright overall. Any last thoughts here?
Yeah, Warfare out next week. So
Warfare
like
next
we're
week.
getting into it. This is a as much as April Fools was a terrible time, I think this was a good time for some news dumps to get our juices flowing and then, get the premature summer movies out in the next couple weeks, Sinners, Warfare, and
Hmm.
then we're getting into summer movie season pretty soon. So it'll be here
Yeah.
sooner than we think even and just ready for what 2025 has to offer.
Yeah, I will say I feel like it's been a little bit of a downtime at the movie theater recently. We've had some interesting stuff out here and there, but nothing that I think has really been a big moment like culturally, besides just nerds like us who like obsess about this stuff. I don't think we've had anything really break through yet this like year. So um yeah, I think we're gonna have some stuff, some really cool stuff to talk about next week and beyond.